By now, it's so formulaic, it needs no further introduction. White cop confronts black suspect, the situation escalates, the black suspect gets shot, and we're all immediately propagandized to believe it's yet another obviously racist incident, until the facts emerge in the days and weeks afterward and reveal it obviously is not. But that doesn't make it any less important to observe that formula in action, because it's so far beyond any plausible whoopsie. It's beyond intentional even. Often it's intent for personal enrichment. It's a business operation. Case in point, how do you know that the early story is false? Well, when civil rights lawyer Ben Crump is immediately on the scene, that is confirmation the true story is nothing like the initial one. Because for Ben Crump, it is a business. It's not a search for the truth. From Trayvon Martin to Michael Brown, through Breonna Taylor and George Floyd to today, whenever a black person dies in a law enforcement or self-defense encounter, Ben Crump is there to raid the local piggy bank with a wrongful death lawsuit. For all the accusations of exploiting black life, nobody capitalizes on a dead black body faster than Ben Crump. He's on an airborne insertion before that body even hits the pavement. So when you see Ben Crump parachuting into that press conference podium, you know that you are in for a series of lies pursuant to the dollar, not a series of facts pursuant to the truth. And that clue should be obvious to anybody with any capacity for pattern recognition. But of course, that description would exclude many in media otherwise diligently scolding others about the importance of fact-checking. Almost as quickly as Crump was at that podium this week, the headlines softening the story were already out. A wrongfully convicted man who was exonerated after 16 years in prison was just shot and killed in a traffic stop. He was finally living freely until a cop just executed him for no particular reason at all. Here he is in a button-up shirt at the state legislature. So you know he's a good guy until a sheriff's deputy just shot him dead for rolling a stop sign or something. This sort of blatant anti-plaid bigotry must end. My people have suffered long enough. These events happened Monday in Camden County, Georgia, on the border with Florida. 53-year-old Leonard Allen Cure was pulled over by Sheriff's Deputy Buck Aldrich in a situation that escalated to a shooting. Early coverage emphasized Cure's past, having served 16 years in Florida State Prison, wrongfully convicted of armed robbery but freed, when the evidence of an ATM receipt proved that Cure was miles away from the crime scene at the time of the robbery, in addition to no physical evidence or solid witness testimony to place him at the scene of the crime. Cure was serving a life sentence due to prior convictions which still stand, but with this one wiped, he was released from prison in 2020, exonerated of this crime, given educational benefits to restore his life, and just 2 months ago, the state of Florida issued him a formal apology. As far as how all of that past explains or justifies any of this week's police interaction, it doesn't. As the reporting acknowledges, as of Wednesday morning, no information was provided on the reason that police pulled over Cure or what led to the traffic stop. Of course, as the story developed, turns out these facts were inverted in priority. Cure's prior wrongful conviction emphasized in the headlines is all but irrelevant to this case, and those missing details treated as just footnotes would be demonstrated in video as crucial by the end of the day. And that should have been easily foreseeable. Just because you're exonerated of one crime doesn't mean you're incapable of committing another. Just because the law mistreated you once doesn't mean that every other interaction is unjustified. See Cure's own prior convictions that still stand, including robbery and other serious crimes. So likewise, just because police shot you doesn't mean there's no plausible justification besides racism. But that is exactly what Cure's family said. In a Wednesday press conference with Ben Crump, his mother said it does not matter why he was shot, because there is no possible reason for him to be shot.
None of us were there. We don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. And quite frankly, I may never know what happened. But this I'd like to say, I don't feel, no matter what happened, that he should have been killed.
No matter what.
That's the bottom line. That's the gist of it all. His life should not have been taken because there was a legal infraction.
Notice the admission there that there is no knowledge of what actually happened, but there is, of course, an automatic conclusion. As we'll get to, there are, in fact, imaginable scenarios that do justify lethal force, but Ben Crump repeated the same line. Nobody deserves to die in a traffic stop because black people are just executed all the time for failing to signal or something.
Just because you're black should not be the determining factor whether you get a death sentence for a traffic stop.
And of course, the racism smear isn't just for police in general, it's for that sheriff's deputy specifically. He is a Jim Crow bigot.
Only to be exonerated and have his life claimed by Jim Crow bigoted policing.
And so Ben Crump demanded the transparency of the video's release.
To get to that justice, it's going to be built on truth and transparency. We want the video to be released immediately.
And by the end of the day, it was. Camden County officials released the deputy's dash cam video that captured the entire encounter, from confrontation to gunshot and afterward. And this should be where Ben Crump's parachute becomes a jetpack and he bails, but of course it isn't. The video is so bad for his case, though, that Ben Crump could only characterize it as, quote, "Videos show Leonard Cure fight with Georgia deputy." See, it was just an MMA event gone wrong, apparently. But in fairness to Crump, I don't think I could write a caption that characterizes it any better for his client, because the facts just don't support it. Leonard Cure was speeding down the interstate at over 100 miles per hour. And in addition to that speed, he was allegedly recklessly driving as well. So the deputy instructed Cure to put his hands on the back of his truck, a command with which Cure very slowly complied.
Put your hands back here.
I ain't doing shit.
Step back here now or you're getting tased. Put your hands on the back of that truck.
Do you see that?
Put your hands on the back of that truck.
Back of the truck.
Both hands.
When the deputy directed him to put his hands behind his back for arrest, Cure's compliance ended.
Put your hand behind your back.
Do I have a warrant? Wait. No. Excuse me.
Either put your hands behind your back or you're getting tased. I'm telling you that right now.
Why am I getting tased?
Because you are under arrest for speeding and reckless driving.
I'm not driving. Nobody was hurt. How was I speeding?
You passed me doing 100 miles an hour.
When Cure would not submit to arrest, the deputy deployed the taser.
Hands behind your back!
And in video, the community guidelines frown upon me showing Cure then deployed his fists. And then that fight that Ben Crump was referencing ensued, and Cure overpowered the deputy with his strength. The deputy tried to use his baton to subdue Cure to no effect. And then we get something of a reverse George Floyd situation, the suspect choking the cop, though of course that choking is disputed in George's case given the lack of neck trauma, but you get what I mean. It's an analogy with a few flaws. Among them otherwise, the fact that this cop wasn't amped up on meth like George was, because he really could have used it. This arrest attempt got out of hand as Cure got the deputy's neck in his, and as Cure was choking the deputy, he repeated, "Yeah, bitch," apparently enjoying it.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch.
It's at that point, right after the "yeah, bitch" celebration, that the deputy shoots Cure right under the armpit. With Cure down and incapacitated, the deputy calls over his radio shots fired and requests assistance. It appears there was just the one shot and Cure died from it sometime thereafter. So the sequence of events was this: lawful confrontation for an arrestable offense in Georgia, refusal to submit to that arrest, resistance to taser, resistance to baton, and about 20 seconds of physical fighting, including choking the deputy while saying, "Yeah, bitch," before the shot was fired. For every Twitter claim of what the deputy could have done in lieu of lethal force, Cure had several opportunities in that sequence to refrain from applying his own. But he did, and then he lost the lethal force fight. And for all the mischaracterizations that Ben Crump had, at least he could say that his press conference happened before that video was out, that he was only speculating, even if that speculation turned out to be wrong. It's not much of an excuse, and of course he won't admit to being wrong anyway, but it is better than sticking with the racism story even after the video is out. The ACLU of Florida tweeted Wednesday afternoon with reference to this story that modern policing is rooted in slavery and rotten to the core. When the video was released just hours later, ACLU Florida doubled down, tweeting, "The function of modern policing is to protect power and privilege by exerting social control over black people." Likewise, the Southern Poverty Law Center tweeted Wednesday morning that they mourn Leonard Cure and remain committed to reimagining policing in America. The reimagined scenario, of course, is one in which Cure continues down that freeway at 100 plus until he slams into your car, killing your whole family, burning everyone's bodies beyond recognition. It's a rough way to go, sure, but much more importantly, at least it's not racist, because blackening your body to a crisp is an acceptable cost to maintain proper politeness to those already experiencing the skin tone. And that sounds absurd, but if it is a stretch, it's only barely so. The cop should have spoken more nicely is a legitimate part of the argument. The incident remains under investigation. A legal analyst speaking with local media says, given that the deputy tried several non-lethal methods before Cure applied lethal choking force himself, it's unlikely the district attorney will bring any criminal charges in this case, though he says there could still be opportunities in a civil suit for Crump and company, apparently because the deputy was aggressive in his vocal tone and triggered Cure by telling him he's going to jail because he was a man who was already imprisoned wrongfully for 16 years. In other words, the arrest was lawful. It's just the way he said "you're under arrest" that was a problem, as though we're all entitled to our own Hallmark greeting, tailored for our own personalized arrest needs. "Take me out to dinner first, please." Well, the cop could have said the same to Cure about the choking, couldn't he? But that's the argument. If only Leonard Cure had received the sort of kindness and patience to which white people are accustomed in their police interactions, if only Cure was white himself, then none of this would have happened at all, and he'd be sitting at home right now just bathing in his own privilege.
We absolutely do not believe if he was a white citizen, he would have been killed for a traffic stop.
We don't believe, we know. We know he would not have been killed if he were white.
Well, speaking of demanding the video, as Ben Crump did right after saying that, I demand that Ben Crump show any to this effect. Show me the video of a white guy speeding down the interstate at 100 plus, getting pulled over, refusing arrest, refusing to submit to taser or baton, and then choking the cop while saying, "Yeah, bitch," and enjoying it. Until the cop says, "Okay, you're right. You are white after all, so I'm not exactly sure what I was doing there. You're free to go in honorable recognition of your paleness. Show me even one example of a video of that scenario, and I will immediately entertain the racial variable here. Better yet, show me Ben Crump taking the podium for such a person, since that podium is so devoted to the facts and not the blind and reflexive promotion of one race over another, which we're otherwise told at that podium is so obviously wrong. When Ben Crump ever provides any evidence of a white person in a similar situation and treated kindly for it, only then will I happily repeat his client's catchphrase in acknowledgement. Yeah, bitch, you got a point there. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below and especially over on Gab. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.